What's up, you guys? Welcome to Shameless Kai Speaking, where authenticity rules and self discovery is our jam. I'm Kai, your host, and on this podcast, we're all about embracing our true selves and growing together. In this special episode, I team up with a friend of mine, Theo, on her podcast, Breezy Genius, to explore the divine feminine energy. So grab a drink, relax, and vibe with us as we dive into its power, grace, and impact on our lives. If you love what you hear, show some love by liking, sharing, and subscribing to my YouTube channel. And don't forget to follow Shameless Kai Speaking and Easy Breezy Genius wherever you get your podcasts. Your support means the world to us as we journey through self-discovery together. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the video, guys.
I really can't think of a better person to have come on to talk about divine feminine energy. It's something that I've been bringing up a lot lately on the podcast here and there, but haven't really dove into yet. So I've been thinking about the divine feminine all day and how to bring this to our audiences. And I feel like I want to kind of talk about some of the qualities of divine feminine and masculine, just so people kind of like know what we're talking about. You can kind of think of like the moon and the sun. People use those a lot to describe the feminine versus the masculine. When you think about the moon, you think about intuition, the receptive mode, softness, creativity, and more like inward and receiving energy. Whereas when you think about the sun, it's illuminating, it's active, it's energetic, it's a masculine energy. So those are kind of ways where you can think about it in nature. And it shows up in all of us in different ways, but we all have the feminine and masculine qualities within us and are important parts of all of us. But as women, I feel like because of our role in history throughout the workforce that drives at least America, we sometimes have been pushed into using our masculine energy to be the driving force. And I feel like now a lot of women are waking up to embracing their feminine energy as the driving force and allowing the masculine to really support us. So I want to hear your outlook on what it is to be feminine energy, what it is to be masculine energy, and how our upbringings can affect that. Like if we have a male role in our lives, a role model, a father figure, how that helped shape the way that we express our feminine energy. Were we allowed to express it as a child? So yeah, before I get too into all my ideas that I have around the feminine and masculine, for you, what does it mean to express your feminine, your divine feminine qualities versus your masculine?
The I'm a quarterback. Yes. Say the question again. Sorry. Just keep opening the door. What is that?
It's a guava cream pie.
He brought me a guava cream pie. Thanks, babe.
You don't like it?
Not right now. I can't eat it on camera, and I'm recording. Thanks.
That sounds so good. A guava cream pie.
It does.
Yum.
I wonder if it's creamy.
Yum.
Is it creamy? Okay, so the first question was what? Sorry.
Yeah, I kind of said a lot there, but
yeah.
What really is divine feminine energy, or just feminine energy, and what is masculine energy? Because on this, we're not really talking about the superficial feminine, like girly versus masculine sports or something. We're going a little deeper here. Like we're talking about energies. So what is that for people to understand, like what we're really talking about here, divine feminine?
I mean, I feel like you kind of hit on it earlier when you're talking about like the moon and the sun. In a sense, I feel feminine energy, to me, what I've grown to know it as, is it is soft, but it's knowing. right? It's one of those things like if you're comparing it to the moon, and this has all this darkness and it's only just soft, subtle light that illuminates everything. So you almost have to feel your way through to things. Um, and so to me, feminine energy has always been about a feeling, and it's an essence. It's something that it just kind of knows, you have to let it flow, really watery, um, very agile, very creative. And I feel my own intro to feminine energy was very harsh. I feel like I experienced in my earlier years everything opposite. So I guess it would be, in a sense, more masculine, very action, very right at you, very in your face, very not letting up. So my intro into feminine was actually through the masculine, um, which would be, in the sense, like the sun, very much I am here, very much wanting to get things done. And I feel that it's also still one and the same, what I've learned as I get older. There's really no completely drastic difference between masculine energy and feminine energy other than how it presents itself, because you could have a woman who presents more, mainly masculine, but there's still things about her that are very feminine. And I feel feminine does a lot of nurturing, but so does masculine energy, just in different ways, Masculines, they provide, they take care, it's all action based, but so is nurturing. When you nurture something, you're still taking action, but it's just at what, I don't want to say speed, but at what type of energy do you bring to it? Do you come to it as, okay, I know what the solution is? When you have a problem and you already know how to fix it, you're more calm, you're more focused. Even if you get distracted a little bit, you'll be able to come right back and finish it. Whereas if you're approaching with a more masculine, it's like everything has to stop. You, this, let's do this. You know what I mean? And it's just harder, like more abrasive in a way that is in control, right? Very dominant, in control. Whereas feminine energy is still in control, but it's a surrendered control. Because I'm gonna keep saying it, like, already. There's a difference between believing. I think masculine energy is more of a believe, like I believe, and the feminine energy is more of a I know. Right? So if you believe in something, then that means you're going to continue to keep doing it and doing it until you see those results or you see other results like it. And then it's like you have to have something feed into it for you to know that this is what you should be doing. Right? Whereas I know you're past the believing. It's because you're past it. You don't have to constantly have proof. You don't constantly have to have validation. You don't constantly have to um, know every single thing. You just need to know that you know yourself, that you know that you could make and do whatever, And so even like with my husband, like he asked me so many times when he was on his way home if I wanted something. I said no, and he still brought it. But it's not that he knows I don't want anything, but it's like he needs to do so that I can be like, you're so silly. I said I didn't, he's just like, I know, but it's one of those things like, okay, she really didn't, but I did it anyway, and I also knew he was still going to bring it. So I think it's an exchange. I think light and dark, feminine, masculine, I think those are just all kind of words that we put on so that people can believe in something, so that people can, when you believe in something, you're constantly seeking versus when you know something, you're more settled. Not that you never stop seeking because we're humans, we have that drive. That's what we're designed to do, to always want. It's our meat suit. I call a human body our meat suit, because we're human beings, the being the spirit, the essence, but the human part is our meat suit, our spaceship, whatever you wanna call it. And so it needs that. That's the thing that needs to believe. What's inside of that, already knows, right? But you have to keep dangling things in front of it to let it be like, okay, this way. So I just think it's just what it is, energy and the way you go about everything. So yeah,
Oh, I
that's
love
yeah.
that so much. You just say things so well. I just love you. Yeah, I feel like the feminine energy, the intuition really is the body, and learning to listen to your body is a huge part of coming into your divine feminine energy. Whereas the
Hmm.
masculine, like you said, the belief sits in the head. It's like head driven, whereas feminine is really tuning into your knowing inside your body. Um,
Yeah.
and with the workforce being kind of set up to have females express in a more masculine way in the conventional workforce, that's really
Hmm.
how I came to understand what it means to let my feminine energy be the driving force versus my masculine energy. Because in my work history, I was ignoring those signals from my body. Let's say I was on my period or I was feeling a low in my energy. I was the waves of what I really felt being a female, the waves we go through of energy, dips, lows, water moving around. It didn't matter what I was going through. I would force myself to work no matter what. Because my head,
Hmm.
I was stressing through my masculine for years, letting my head and my beliefs of you need to prove your worth, you need to show up at the work, that was driving. So for years, ignoring my feminine and then learning about all these concepts of like, no, you are a woman. How important is it to listen to your body and listen to your intuition? And when you do that and you follow those waves and you're flowing with the ups and downs and ebbs and flows and the knowing you feel inside yourself, you actually open up to this creative energy and much more aligned, guided path, I would say, when you really embrace that as a female and you let the masculine energy support you in terms of like, yeah, you need structure in your life and you need stability, but allowing yourself to let that feminine energy be the dominant decider on how you live your day, basically.
I agree. And I definitely think the cool part about feminine energy is we don't have to do much.
Receiving.
Hmm. We don't have to do much. And that's the beautiful part about feminine energy that I think that people are like, they don't really understand. But doing nothing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything because it's the subtleties. Sometimes my husband will have a whole conversation by himself, but just with me just doing certain facial expressions, like he'd be like, "Oh, so you just go." I'm I'm not thinking anything that he's saying. I'm just not saying anything, and I'm just looking at him like you're just. And he will come up with all of these things, and it's just the the power. Our control comes from inside. We see all of these women in time, like Dorothy Dandridge and Marilyn Monroe and Jackie and all of these women who were known to just be just these sirens in their own right, controlling these men or guiding these men or showing whatever, um, how to love them, how to treat them just by simply knowing who they were, and being confident in them. And so I think with your workforce, like that's definitely something that we're programmed to do in America for sure, because America's a business,
Mm-hmm.
and so in order for it to make money, you have to be action packed. But there's nothing wrong with you still having those same thoughts, but maybe being softer on yourself about how you go about it. A lot of women don't want to be super vulnerable around men in the workforce to an extent, like don't go overboard, but just staying soft in certain things, being, as you said before, masculine energy is really mental. And I think that women could really benefit, especially when they're in a workforce where it's really taxing and demanding, to learn some stoicism, learn some philosophy. I'm really big on on stoicism and philosophy. I love it. I could be very stoic at times, and I feel because it's already a very masculine dominated type of way of going about things. Because as women, we care, and sometimes we care a whole lot, you know, and that is what I feel is the disconnect between masculine and feminine energy, because men care, but they can also set that aside and get things done. Sometimes with us women, when we care, we're almost paralyzed to the fact that we care so much, you know? And so we could really benefit from knowing how to still have those emotions, but filter it through our mind. So I know when my husband and I, when we were first, dating and then early in marriage, we were still kind of rocky and trying to figure things out. Um, I had told him, like, as years went by, maybe like a couple of years ago, that my mind has been my man for the longest, and of course I can get entangled with ego and all that stuff because ego's all up in there. But um, just how to detach and separate myself from the the overwhelming sensations of feeling sometimes, especially being a woman, because it's just like the worst thing you could do to me is not understand me. Oh, you could say whatever you want to say about me, but if you misconstrued where I'm coming from, it hurts me because there's never anything in me that ever wants to be malicious. There's never anything in me that I just want to help. I just want to be here. I just want to love on you and just, what do you need? And let's have a good time. And okay, let's try it this way. And, and sometimes that can come off like, whoa, because in society, we're so programmed to think that if you see that, it's a setup. If you see that, it's no good. If someone is doing this, and of course, there's people who use that to their advantage to get over on people, so you have to be, I just think that really feeding your mind things that can help you untangle and unravel. Like I have an episode called Control Freak, where it's hard to, when I'm going through something, to take my heart out and let somebody hold it while I unravel my mind, right? Because everything is connected, and I have to figure out what is my ego, getting in the way. What is my emotions just pulling too tightly on this thought? And somewhere in between all of that, I'm in there and I need to find me, and sometimes I retreat when I go through things, I guess, into the darkness, back into the womb of the universe, whatever you want to say, so that I could really not speak about the immediate irritants that I'm having with whoever right now. I don't ever want to just spew things because I'm irritated. I could be going off on you, Theo, because I didn't sleep last night and you said, oh, something smells good. I'm like, you're always smelling stuff. Like, stop smelling things. Like, just turn your nose off. Like, like just snap. But and you're just like, what? And it could literally unravel a whole bunch of mess, So when I'm really, really stressed, I retreat so that I could take everything off, essentially get completely naked down to the spiritual of everything and really figure out, okay, what irked me? What was it? Why? And then once I sit with that and I look at all perspectives of it, and then I'm like, okay, I know what it is. And then now I can come back calm, whether it's a day or two or whatever, sometimes a week. That's why I feel like really being myself in the beginning all the way through with people that I meet, so that they know that I do retreat. It is not something that I'm not being fake, I'm not being phony, but I need to take care of what this is, because you don't know that I'm going through something. You may have triggered something in me, and I may not know you enough right now or feel safe enough even within my own self of trying to figure out what that is, because it could be anything, to let you hold it, so being really transparent, being really logical, aware, um And it still all goes back into knowing, right? Like sometimes you know something is wrong, so you know you have to figure out what it is, but you can't use another person as a subject to figure out what that is, you know? And I think that's kind of like the issue that we have, the disconnect that we have with America for sure, is that they want to project and point the blunt finger at everybody. And my dad used to always say, you got finger pointing at you, you got or someone else, and you have three pointing back at you, and it's the truth, you know. Like I will never point a finger unless I know that I know that I know. And even if I do point the finger, I'm not pointing at the finger. I'm not pointing the finger at you. I'm coming next to you and saying, hey, remember when this happened? You know, I'm side by side with you with, remember when this happened, this, it made me feel, you know, never you did the, and this last time, and fuck that, because, like, you know, it's like, no, like, we need to be side by side so we can see what it is together. Therefore, you can look at me and believe and know that, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, give me a hug, we good. Like, so I think that a lot of people need to get back in touch with their being. And as long as they pay attention to what society tells you to do, you'll always be disconnected. Always, because that's a tool, especially with the workforce that they use to make you numb and dull so that you just do without thinking, without feeling. You're on autopilot. Kind of like when you're driving home and you're listening to music and all of a sudden you get almost home and you're like, dang, I wasn't paying attention to the drive this whole time. You know what I mean? Like I was not paying attention. I knew when to brake. I knew when there was a red light. I knew it, like you were just gone, you know? Um, I think they want us on autopilot. So I'm glad that you know that now, that you are overcompensating in your masculine just to kind of get along and you know be accepted. You know.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
important. I feel like it's so important for women to realize the power that they hold when they embrace that stoicism, like you said, and actually take time to reflect. And if you need to retreat until you can feel inside yourself what feels true.
Mm-hmm.
We've both done shadow work and inner child work. I think some of those wounded feminine qualities that I was showing up with in the past, now I don't feel like I'm in that anymore. I feel like 2023, I embraced my feminine energy to the max. I was like, oh, there's this. Like, okay, I'm going in. I'm fully leaning in. Like I quit like 4 jobs and I'm just like, if I'm tired, I'm tired. I'm resting. But
Mm-hmm.
um I think some of those wounded feminine qualities that we may show up with as adults, whether it's in dating, where maybe you're chasing the guy rather than letting him chase you, or you're trying to provide for the man rather than allowing him to provide for you and receiving, or if you're overworking to try to show your worth rather than just listening to your inherent worth, can come from growing up. If we had within our own mind or within our real life a solid, stable masculine figure to support us, and if we didn't, later on in life you can actually heal that within yourself by creating that kind of safety and support and stability and rock like energy within yourself. If you didn't feel that when you were a child, and that may have led you to these overcompensating tendencies where we show up in a wounded feminine, like kind of asking yourself, like, did I feel like my dad or whatever male figure I had in my life was consistent, was reliable, was trustworthy, was safe? And if not, where are the areas that maybe need to be healed now in the adult life to support you and create this solid base for you to feel like you can relax into your feminine energy?
Um, I think that's all part of it. I used to think like when I was growing up, like, man, because my dad and we didn't get close really until I was about 15. My mom and him had a really, really nasty divorce. They ain't last, child. Let's just say they did not last at all. And they are a lot alike in a lot of ways that they would never admit, but they yeah, they didn't last. And I feel like I had those feelings at a young age of man, like what would that be like, to be able to just chill with my dad and have that balance of seeing those different energies there. But I feel that what you go through is essentially what you're supposed to grow through. I feel every person has a purpose and a mission. And just like if we're all different types of cars, right? You have a different model, a different setup underneath, you look different, all this stuff, but essentially you run the same, you do the same things. One needs unleaded, one's electric, one needs diesel. Like, there's all these different things that go into it, but it makes that person that person. And so I feel if you grown up missing that masculine energy, you will definitely go through a period of where you overcompensate for it, because you don't necessarily know, you have to seek and find it. You believe that you're supposed to have something, but you don't realize that you have it within yourself. So you create a calling to have all these different types of experiences, and that's the beauty of it. The universe is our catalog. So you open that bitch up one day and be like, what do I want to do today? Like, how do I want, and then immediately it'll start giving you those experiences. And I feel that some women, even they could grow up having that loving, nurturing father that was always there and then rebel against it and want someone who's less, emotionally unavailable, because, and then they go through that of learning how important that value is of having a masculine that is emotionally available, and you always come back to your root. You always come back to your root. And so I feel like the journey of whatever it is the things that you need to be taking on to help you navigate your mission, you know, um, to complete whatever it is that you're doing. And then also then in turn later attract your own masculine energy, because you're not going to really necessarily attract a person that's like your dad. There may be some similarities, but nobody wants to date their daddy, child. Nobody wants to date their daddy, so there's characteristics about that man that will resemble that you'll find comfort in, but essentially the man that you end up being with is gonna be a mirrored image of your masculine. They're gonna have to be homies. They're gonna have to be friends. And the same with the feminine energy in him. And so I honestly think struggle is a good thing. It really is, because it forces you to be uncomfortable, and nobody grew from being comfortable. And I think that it's just all of how you deal with it. But definitely, I agree. Masculine energy can be daunting to deal with because it's so electrifying. When it links up with the feminine, but that's where the magic shit happens. And so you have to know, like, okay, this is it. Like you have to be calm within yourself to really take it in, and then bring something from that. So I think it's cool. I think that everything that you did in search of your masculine energy or navigating masculine energy and everything I did, brought us here together. And the same with other women when they're aware of it. There's nothing really ever happening around us, that is super threatening on our mental and emotional state to that extent. It's just what we give our attention to, on a constant, and what we constantly feed. So if you feel that your masculine is out of whack, then it'll continuously give you experiences of where you can be, and so it's all perspective, honestly.
Yeah, I totally
I think
agree.
so.
Tell
Yeah.
me about how people can embrace their feminine energy in relationships. So I noticed, like, I feel like a lot of ladies, go through a period, not necessarily everyone if they learn about this stuff early on, but I definitely did, going through a period of chasing the man. I mean, let's take it back to like original days when men were the hunters, women were the gatherers. Like that's their instinctual role, is to go hunt. And like if you look at whales, for example, like the male whales are like breaching and doing like tail slaps and slapping their peck fins on the water. It's all to try to impress the woman. Same with birds, like some birds are doing these like crazy dances and
Really cool dances, yeah.
like all to try to impress the woman, and the woman's just like, which one do I like? Like it's all to try to impress the woman. So I think humans, really, that's our power as women, is like we are the ones that can create life. We're like an endless supply of creative energy. Like we are such a prize. And like you said, we don't have to do much. Just being a woman is a gift for a man to be around. So, in what ways do you think like the wounded feminine shows up in dating, where maybe you're trying to chase the man rather than actually just letting a guy show you his
Do his
worth?
thing.
Yeah, and what is it like to be in your divine feminine in a relationship?
I think it's all different because you have to think of your partner too. You know, like for an example, you can have a man who is a good textbook, very good provider, this, but may not be, my light just turned off. You seen it behind me? may not be, may not be, let's see, very forthright. And, you have shy men, timid men, but once you get them talking, it's just like, whoa. So maybe you might have to be that more aggressive feminine to really lay it on thick. Like, I like you. Hello. Do you see
Right,
me?
yeah.
Like you might have to
That's
do
me.
little, yeah, you
I'm
might
like
have to.
I'm not mysterious at all. Like if I like with my boyfriend, I was definitely the chaser. I'm gonna say this straight up. I was not in my receiving feminine. I was like, I like you. I'm gonna trap you.
And
But
that's
yeah.
still fine too. I think that's fine too. I think that you could chase and still be womanly about it. It's once you receive what it is that you want, now how are you?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then too, how are you going about getting it? I feel that
Mhm.
there's a toxic way about going about getting it that will set a precedent of how you're then treated once you receive. And can you handle that? Can you handle that 24/7? Because you set the tone, can't switch it up now, you know? And if you do, it's going to take a lot of maneuvering, a lot of work to get it switched up. Can you handle that? So I feel women, we can basically do whatever we want, but you're going to be perceived as either something to play with or something to build with.
Mhm.
So it's all about what do you want. If a toxic feminine energy is going about chasing men in a way of where he's pretty much made it clear that he does not want you, he has not called you back, he doesn't text you back, and if he does, it's like one or two liners on a good day, you know all of these things where he's showing you're just not interested. Now you're just leaking energy. Now that's no longer, to me, feminine energy. That's ego. That's just
Mhm.
you're bruised, and so if you keep going about that same pursuit in another man the same type of way, then you're just going to continue to be bruised. And what I had to learn is the things that hurt you are, yes, essentially supposed to help you grow, but that comes later. The thing when you're hurting, it's because you're doing something that your soul does not want you to do,
Mhm.
that God doesn't want you to do. Like you've deviated from your path. Let's just be clear.
Totally.
you know and so you've lost that connection that is pure to you. Everybody has their own pure connection. We can all feel it, we can all resonate with it, but it all presents itself differently, right? But if you're hurting, it's because you're off that path. So then you go out and you do hurting things because that's all you know. That's all you know. So you go out and you see a man and you try to get at a man and he's just like, maybe he's a man that's just like, he doesn't like all that noise. He's a simple, minimal type of man and he just wants something soft and subtle and he just wants to do. He doesn't have to say much. He just wants to do. And then here you come in, maybe you caught his eye because you're very alluring or whatever, but then you may complete him on a fact that you could speak up for yourself. Hell, you could speak up for him too, especially at a restaurant or whatever. But now you're speaking up for him too much, over time. Now you're speaking up too much because that's all you know. No one's spoken up for you. No one said, hey, you don't have to do that. Just sit back. Let me do it. So now in a sense you're being toxic to yourself and to everybody else, because deep down I feel if a woman is overcompensating for a lot of things, it's because she's tired and she's eager. She's eager to find someone to settle down to do these things so that she does not have to. Right. So if you tell her no and you show her some interest, what you mean no? It's always, what do you mean no? What do you mean not right now? What do you now it's like, let's talk about something real quick because I'm confused. Now it's this whole other side. It's just like, whoa, lady, like this is exactly why I said no, versus if you started off that way and someone says, I'm not really interested or whatever, and you're able to be logical enough to pick up those social cues, even body language and everything. You have to be self-aware. You have to be. Because you have to be aware of yourself, because however somebody else is going to make you feel from the moment you approach them, or even just being in the vicinity around them, your body is going to give off all these signals. And if you're aware of that and you can feel it and then be like, okay, where am I picking this up from? And then lock in on it and be like, oh, okay, maybe I did a little too much. And the next time you see that man, you're a little softer, you're a little less vocal. Now you piqued his interest. Because why you so quiet? Why are you so quiet? And then now you got them. You got them. You had them the first time, but you were pushing them away. It was like, eh. But now that you're different and now that you're more aware of yourself, you can reel them in and you can just tell them, hey, men like honesty. I feel like I was overcompensating before and I don't want to today. Well, oh yeah. Well, what do you mean overcompensating? I don't really want to get into it right now, but maybe if we, maybe if we see each other more, over time, I tell you, okay, well, what you doing tonight? Like they want to be able to come in, and then once you have them, you can explain to them, hey, I'm very dominant. I'm very this, and a level-headed man will tell you that's because you didn't have someone to do it for you. And men are so simple. And I think that's the beautiful part about feminine and masculine energy, because we're so much, we're so much and so to be able to have something simple and something extravagant come in and have an exchange, it's literally a dance for real,
I feel like that's really how, if people want to know, how do you get what you want? The answer is in your own energy. Is change your energy. If you're not getting what you want, say you feel like you want your guy or your friend or your brother, whatever, whoever, to do something and they're not doing it and you're like hitting a wall, go back into your own energy, switch that up, and get into that receiving mode, or a mode where you feel like you're fulfilled within yourself and you're like, oh, I don't need this anymore. And then it's like that, everything shifts, and that's when you're going to get what you want, because it's going to change the energy where now you're going to receive it.
Exactly. And too, honestly, you could give it to yourself. So sometimes, like even now, like I'll ask my husband for something and he may be preoccupied in his mind, but to me, he looks like he's chilling. But, he may be preoccupied in his mind and I may want it right now. And I used to do this thing where I would get really like persnickety and be like, particular about how I want something and this and that. And it's just like, you know what, I'm going to just stop and I'm going to do it myself. I'm not going to
Yeah.
complain. I'm not going to say this or that to him to like try to pick under his skin so that he gets up and does it. I'm just going to do it calmly and fine. And then eventually I learn over time, he'll see me do that and he'll hop up, "Hey, babe, 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 I said I'd do it. I said I'd do it." You know? And when he first started doing that, even though he was getting up and doing then what I wanted, but I was still caught up on the fact that I asked you 5 times. Like, why all of a sudden you want to do it now? Because you see me doing it? Like, then I would, and then now I've come out of myself. I've come out of that thing that he just willingly wanted to do. And so I feel like being really cat-like. Feminine energy reminds me of felines, and really lioness and just very like walking around like, yeah, you see it. Those types of things. Like, once you can really possess whatever that is, however you display that within you, because we all have it. um, you can get whatever you want, but you also have to be vocal when the time comes. Like, when you'll feel it, when it's like, okay, this is it. Now you have to stay the course and don't get cocky, don't get egotistical, and you could be confident, not arrogant. And I feel that sometimes, because I've gone through and I still battle with it sometimes too. When you do get what you want, you get arrogant in a way of, yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? It's what I thought type of thing. But I've learned to be that way, but in a playful still way of like, I'm not putting you down, but like do something cute where it's still disarming, but because sometimes you do have to satisfy that ego. I'm not gonna lie, you can't just act like it's not there. You see so many books and so many people talking about, oh, disregard the ego, get rid of it. No, I feel it's definitely a barrier and a protection to your divine energies, the masculine and the feminine. You need that because that helps you navigate other humans. you know
It's
you can't just be, yeah.
an indicator of what
Go
you
ahead.
want. Like, if you didn't have an ego, you wouldn't
Yeah.
know what you want. Like, I think my sign, I think I read in my horoscope one time, like, my ego is actually my compass to how I can get what I want. It was like, actually use your ego as your driving force. Like, for a lot of people that wouldn't work, but like in my composition, the ego is
Mhm.
actually like what shows me what direction I want to go.
Yeah, definitely. I think all of it, when you break everything down, is so just like, wow. Like, I don't know, like, I don't really have a word for it, but when you realize how everything is so different but so similar at the same time, it's just a matter of perspective and how you look at it and how you connect with it. Like I always say, like, we're all, like, if you start like a ripple, you drop a stone or something in the water, and it starts off small and it goes really, really big. The perspective of view when you're at the biggest ripple looking in, it's just like you get to see, like, whoa, like, I'm over here, and what type of things do I have to do to get in there. But still, the same feelings and the same desires that point of view has, the same ones closest on the inside has the same thing. Like, I want to experience, I want to see, like, how do I get over there? you know and so, but they all feel the same thing. It's just, where are you looking at it from? So I don't know. I think, can I ask you a question?
Sure. I was gonna ask you.
Okay.
I'll get more for you coming if you. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
ask away.
But
I would love.
what was your experience besides like the workforce, like really understanding your feminine energy and your masculine energy? Like, which one do you resonate with more on a day to day?
I think I'm an action based person. I like to take action on things, and when I feel like I have an idea, I take action right away. Or if I feel like it's a situation where I'm not ready to take action, I'll wait until I feel that urge to take action. So I feel like that's how my masculine shows up. But one thing about me is like, I will have massive bursts of energy and inspiration for certain things, and I'm going to take action on those things, but I'm not necessarily going to stay consistent with that in like a driving way where I'm just like always full speed ahead on that one thing. I'm going to flow with it on what I'm feeling at that time. Like one day I may feel like I'm going to work out for 3 hours today, and then I don't work out for 3 days. Or like one day I'm like, I'm going to make like all this content, and then I won't post another thing for like a week. Or like, I'm following my ebbs and flows of what I like, where I'm inspired. Like if I feel like I want to go, like my job, if I feel like I want to go do like 10 things of maintenance on the boat that day, I'm going to go do that. And then I won't show up for whatever, a week. But yeah, so I think it shows up for me in a balanced way where I'm following my flow with it. I'm not forcing myself to like follow one direct path and charge full speed ahead, but like when I do feel the inspiration for some creative thing, I'm going to follow that in a very action-based way, and I'm going to make sure that like I follow through completely on that thing. Like I'm not going to just get the idea, feel like I want to do it, but then not complete it. I have that masculine energy that's going to drive me to completion of that and show up with a full product. Like I'm not just going to be like, I want to like bring Kai on as my podcast guest and then just have that idea float in the air somewhere and never follow through to completion. Like my masculine force is going to drive me to completion with that. Like it's going to drive me to meet up with you and like make the connection and follow through and do whatever I need to do to make that happen. But it's my feminine energy that created the inspiration for that and the yearning for that and the desire and the download and the receiving to even follow that impulse in the first place. So yeah, I think I go in a lot of different directions, but that's kind of how I feel about it right now. And two, I think I'm a lot more easy on myself these days. I used to feel a really strong need to always get a lot done every single day. Like it was a big thing for me for a while, but now like I really don't feel that pressure anymore. I mean, to some degree I do, but like for example, right now, like I was saying, I'm on my period right now, and I did not even leave the house today. Like I spent a really slow morning. Like I just had one focus. Like I took it really slow, and I'm totally okay with that. Whereas in the past, like before I really started learning about the concepts of coming into your feminine energy and embracing that you are a woman who should be allowed to rest and receive, I didn't know about those things before. So before I probably would have forced myself more in the direction of like, all right, I need to get some things done.
Yeah.
I
think that's great. I really do. I think that's great because I feel like that's also like tied into like when you go deeper, like we have our inner child, our inner teenager, our, I call it the semi-adult, where you're not a teenager anymore, but you're just kind of new in adulthood. And then you have that real like distinctive, distilled maturity as an adult. And I feel like all levels of us constantly need attention all the time. And I feel even within myself too, like I get very impulsive with thoughts and I'm constantly jotting things down in my notes or I'm constantly writing things out and I'm just like, And I used to always experience creative burnout. Like talk about burning the candles at both ends. Okay. Because I can't absolutely, but I'm going to be at the end of it, and then I would have these long, like, recovery periods of really having to nurture myself to get myself back up to speed because I did too much. I did too much. And yes, I can, but I don't have to right now. Like, I had to grow into knowing that because I have that idea or that thought, it's mine. It's mine. It's in my mind. Let me get it out of my mind. Let me put it on paper. Let me put it in my notes. It's there. Sometimes that like energy that I know that I start to experience, like you were talking about experiencing too, like that impulsiveness, that like fight or flight, that just like, gotta get it done, is because for me, somewhere along the line growing up, I was stopped, you know? And so I'm overcompensating for that pain. Like I'm living in a memory, almost an emotional and mental memory of before when something disrupted it and I wasn't able to pick it back up ever again. And then so if you miss this window, it's not gonna. But the thing that I realized is I wrote it down. It's mine. I could always keep putting energy on it, all the time. And that's kind of what I was talking about before in my time episode is I want to focus more about, and when we linked up, about quality versus quantity, And so I realized I was doing so much, but a lot of the things that I was doing could have came together in one big, beautiful masterpiece had I took the time to make it so and to let it sit and to let it, when you slow cook something and you just like the meat has all the flavor down to the rootatoota, like, because it was cooked slow and the veggies are good and
Yes.
the broth is good and it's just like, oh, it's good, versus you go in there and you sear some steak real quick and it's a little tough.
Right.
But you could taste the seasoning and you're just pulling at it, because you're in a rush. Like, so I think that's cool too about the feminine is they're never in a rush, and I find something really sexy and enduring about having like that masculine energy, even within me, just be really revved up, or within my husband, to be really revved up and just be like, no, 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 almost, because it's one of those things where you let that build and then boom, it's just like, it's perfect. It's fucking perfect. Yeah. So I'm always curious about like how people navigate like their nudges and pulls. Like, am I the only one that's just like, gotta go right now? Sometimes I feel like, was it like Jiminy Cricket or no, who is the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland? And he's like, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go.
Yeah, like
You ever see it? Yeah. We're late.
I love that you
We're late.
Yeah, I was like that before. And it's like, I so love that analogy of like slow cooking something. And I really love what you said there, where like you can have the idea, write it down and know that it's yours. You're going to come back to it. It's not going to leave you, because I totally feel that sometimes where I'm like, oh, I've got to act on this now or else I'm going to lose it.
Miss my window. Yeah.
Right. Because I love this thing I heard one time. I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Michael Jackson who said this. He was like, when I get an idea, I have to do it or else it's going to go to Prince. Like, cause it's like, you're collecting an idea from he believed that like with the collective consciousness that ideas were coming to him and Prince. And if he didn't act on it, Prince would do it. So like, I think it's nice, which I love that concept, but I also love the concept of like, you're receiving the idea, just write it down and you can slow cook it. You can let it simmer, throw in all the veggies and the broth and the seasonings and let it build into something that's really, really quality.
Yeah, like I noticed too with me getting back into my drawing because I stopped drawing for years. I just picked up my drawing again in COVID lockdown because I used to draw a lot when I was a kid. And I think back like, whoa, like if I continue to draw, how much more amazing would my drawing be, But at the same time, I'm happy I picked it back up because it allowed me to understand my energies completely different. Sometimes when I'm drawing, I have my headphones on and I get into this flow of where I'm listening to the music and I realize that I'm very detail oriented, especially, being digital, you can really zoom in and I'm just really close and I'm just, and I like to airbrush. So, do airbrushes and then I get really close to the point where the whole big picture is gone. I'm stuck in the details, and then I always pull it back out and look and move it around and, place it and okay, go back in, and sometimes I'm out and I'm out of view and I'm really looking and then I'll walk away from that piece maybe for like a couple weeks at a time, even though I just spent 6 hours on it really locked in, but now I haven't touched it for 2 weeks and I come back and I look at it and say, huh, And then that one thing that I kept messing with over and over again, I found a solution, you know? And so rather than trying to print it out right now, and even though I knew it wasn't something in me, it wasn't settled, it wasn't ready. And so I feel that too with women finding something that um, a creative outlet, whether it's
Mm.
baking, sewing, cooking, makeup, hair, decorating, planting, something to where you could bring something so small and you could grow it, will really help you understand and get to know your feminine and your masculine energies too, because you have to tap back into that masculine and go back to really push yourself to get it done, especially if you walked away from something for so long. You have to really go back to say, okay, we're going to get it done, but still always be gentle on myself, on yourself, on myself. So I think it's
Yeah.
cool.
I think that artistic outlets, like for me, it's dance, are such a good way to learn about subtle
Mhm.
energies. Like with dance,
Mhm.
it's so crazy how like just changing what you're thinking about in your head while you're doing a certain movement can totally change the quality of the movement, which is similar to
Mhm.
art. Like it's like this certain way that you're doing this certain thing is going to totally change the quality of the piece. And I'm
Yeah.
sure like sing can experience that too. But like we were talking about earlier, like it really is about like those subtle energies that you're expressing. That's what you're going to receive back, because like we're always getting mirrored
Mhm.
what we're putting out. So getting to know how you can work with energy in that way is bears a lot of gifts.
Yeah, and getting your mental and your emotional on one accord.
Mm.
Because I notice too, like sometimes I'll meet a lot of cool people, but there's a disconnect somewhere and I feel it and I don't know what it is, because we have a lot of same things that we like and all this, and sometimes it literally boils down to how we think,
Mm-hmm.
you know. With like I said, my mind was my man for so many years, as a protection and as a guide. Um I learned that my mind was my greatest tool. And I say tool because it's a tool, and how I felt was like that guide, like that true north type of thing, right? And my mind was going to get me there. So whatever I started to believe and think, I would then feel,
Mm.
and over time, because it kept happening, then it turns into a belief, from a belief to a no, right? Because this is all I know, right? So then my masculine will be like tainted in a way. And so I realized that, oh, okay, we can, with people I meet, we can have a lot of the same similarities, but they don't think the same on a regular basis. This is what they feel. So when we linked up, I touched your soul. I resonated with you. But how you go about things on a day-to-day basis and what you tell yourself, what you believe, doesn't line up with me, you know? And so it's like that's where the disconnect is. So really making sure that I know what it is that I believe and think, and if it aligns with how I really feel. So if it doesn't, I'm dismissing it all day.
Mm-hmm.
I will dismiss it all day. Even if sometimes like I'll get up randomly and it's literally a that I have to do, because I feel you when you say like dance and movement of the body, and just because you hold that energy. Sometimes I just have to do, something that's just like where you kind of bring in all this energy and you just let it out. Where you do the Superman pose, like they teach you all the time, put your hands on your hips and just, like just, and
Mm-hmm.
just poke your chest out and just, you have to be on your feet and just like, da, 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 will literally make you start thinking things. And, once you think, you feel, and then you feel, you think, like it's all connected. So that's a, that's a thing too. We're so like intricate.
We really are. when you say when you say you came into your feminine energy in a harsh way, what exactly was that? What do you mean by that? And how has having, now that you're a mother of three beautiful, beautiful children, how does that
Thank you.
what else have you learned from that, from motherhood? Because I feel like that's a depth of new understanding for feminine energy.
Yeah. So first, coming into my feminine energy, it came in very harsh. I was very over sexualized, like as a young kid. Like, I'm talking about maybe 5, 6, 7 of my like earliest memories of just playing around hide and seek at a friend's house, like sleepover type of thing. And the adults are always there and they're talking and they're sipping, doing it. Now that we're adults, we understand now, right? Before it's just like, oh, they just whatever, they're just adults, ew, type of thing, like, ugh. But walking past them and just playing, hiding, and hearing them, because I've always been an observant person, hearing them say, that little girl got an ass on her. That little girl got hips on. You see them hips when she get older, she gonna be thick. Like, just saying these things. And then, too, because growing up with a single parent like my mother, she raised me, so I would have to do a lot of things independently. So getting myself to school, even, as early as fifth, sixth grade, I'd have to walk, take the light rail, which is like a train station, a train, and then maybe a bus or whatever. And so you have to deal with all of these energies. And I feel always kind of looking older and presenting myself older um, to them, in their eyes was, I was always very inviting. I didn't really understand my light. I didn't really understand my pool. I didn't really understand or know how I looked for real. Like we see ourselves in the mirror all the time, but it's a mirrored image of us. It's not our true self, right? And so not really understanding that power. And so I've always been a magnet. And so I've been a magnet to a lot of nasty shit, a lot of nasty stuff to where men would just be very aggressive or very volatile or just very possessive, very jealous. Women or girls at that time being very jealous because they seen something that I didn't. So, because I'm me, I don't
I can
see what you
attest to
see.
this. When Kai and I were just sitting drinking coffee, this guy legit came by me 3 times. He's like, "Hey, beautiful! Like, can I get your number? Like, oh, you're so gorgeous! Oh my god! Like, I've seen it happen in real life. I don't believe you. I can only imagine." And we're just it's like 10 in the morning, and we're like sitting there drinking coffee. But yeah, you really are a magnet. I can totally
Thank
see
you.
what
Like,
you're saying.
and
You
and I
really
feel
are.
even too, there was like a new level, like being on camera is a new level of acceptance and vulnerability for me that I was not really ready to face until recently. That's why I'm on camera.
Yeah.
Well, I've been behind the mic and, selfies is one thing because I can control it, but I can't, I was not ready to face, there was a fear behind seeing me, and then I
Yeah.
noticed too, I had a lot of practice rounds of really seeing myself and just recording and not, posting or anything, but recording it and being distracted by myself even. And I'm me and I'm distracted, so it's just like, it was a lot to take in. And of course you have your own insecurities. So you nitpick and you do this and you do that. But then I had to keep telling myself in my mind, comforting my, oh, I have to be perfect type of thing. Not perfect, but just, I have to feel ready type of thing of, people see you all the time. You're just seeing you. Like nobody else is new to, like, this is not new to anybody else but you. So, and that's something you can control. So embrace it. It's you. It's not anybody else. So there's an ease there. And so I had to come into that hard, like almost being like pulled in all these directions. And while I'm being pulled like this, I'm also being pushed like this and then smacked like this. And, from what harsh things people would say to me because they see that light in me that I didn't really see. And then I would internalize it like, damn, that's how you feel. Like now I'm overcritical about myself because what did I do? What did I say? And now shutting that part of me down and not doing it because, oh man, it was offensive, but really it wasn't offensive. They appreciated, they admired it, but they didn't have the right words to say. And so then they in turn said the things that they said to you and you took it on as your fact when it's not your fact. So my coming into acceptance and surrendering was a lot of clawing, like constantly having dirt being put on me and me constantly trying to all the time, and so it was rough. And so my feminine energy was very tired. And so then I became very, very masculine and still soft in my appearance. I've always been like girly girl type of thing, still soft in my appearance, but very like I would, because I know that people would see me at that time as a threat or something to be cautious of, or I don't know, she a little too lovey, she a little too nice. What's up with that? It's really spectacle type of thing. I would be on guard. And so that's when I kind of got into stoicism and philosophy to really train myself and always loved music. And so headphones all the time, even now when I'm in public, sometimes if I just don't want to be bothered, I know I'm always going to cause that attraction, but I need a barrier now, sometimes in between me and whatever, because I still just want to be. I got a list of things to do, and I can't. As much as I love talking to people, sometimes I just cannot. And and so learning that that's okay. So that's another feminine action. I feel masculine and feminine dancing with each other to protect myself. And so it took years. I want to say I probably wasn't really comfortable with my feminine until my 30s, and I'm 33.
Yeah.
So like it's, I've had all these trial and error. And so now raising daughters and having kids, I feel like I get to reparent myself.
Yeah.
And so it's really dope because yeah, of course they're just like him too, but there's so much me in there, and the parent I wanted when I was a kid I could have. And now because I'm so self-aware, I also see them in me, and so now I know how to parent it. And because I also know that I don't ever want to dim who they are, because they teach me things every day, every second of the day. It's nonstop. Sometimes I'm just like, just go away. I've had enough, but they teach me things all day long to the point where it's like, okay, whereas my mom may have not been comfortable with me saying certain things. I don't get out of line, as far as my kids, like they will never be disrespectful or anything, but they'll let me know what's up sometimes. And I'll really have to be like, okay, you know, I see what you're saying. And really take that in, because they're still, I don't want to taint their light. I just want to like kind of guide them in gently in a way of where I know they want to go, but I never want to just fully yank them. You know what I mean? Like, unless they're way out there to the point where it's like, ooh, get your, like it's the difference. But that's the cool part of just really, they're all three of them are different, but they're so similar. And just knowing, okay, I have to, like my oldest, I have to really talk things out to her, make it plain, simple. She's my little Taurus baby. Like before I told her, like, can you put the things in the dryer for me? Take the stuff out the wash, put it in the dryer. She took it out and she put it in the dryer, but she didn't start it. And I'm just like,
That's me. I'm the same way. Maybe it's a Taurus thing.
and so I wanted to be upset where I was disappointed. I was just like deflated, like what? But then I asked her like, why would you just put things in the dryer and not start it? And she said, well, Mom, you didn't say start it. And it's like, it's so simple, but it was so irritating at the same time, because I'm just like, girl, you put things in the dryer to dry them, so you gotta push start. And she's like, oh yeah, huh? Versus if my mom did that, she'd be like, now what sense does that make? And what's the dryer for? Huh? What is it? So doing things like that. And my son, he's eager to please. He wants to do, but he also has a very soft emotional heart. He's my feeling child. And so I have to appeal to his emotions, and I have to, with like loading the dishwasher, for example, I have to say, you know, when you set things up this way, they don't get cleaned properly. Come here, look at this. And so now I'm there with him. You see this cup? You see this? The water comes up like this and it spins. How is it going to get clean? Oh, yeah. Versus, you're not loading it right. This should be like, because he doesn't understand. You need to make him feel and see why that's not right. And then the youngest one, she's so much like me now at this age that it's almost like I just have to kind of not stop her, but just like, okay, that's cool. You want to do that, but let's just relax right now. What are you doing? I have to make her be present, because she just wants to do. So I have to get her hands and just be like, what do you want to do right now? Are you a princess? Mm-hmm. And, just to kind of like bring it back, you know? So I think it's cool.
Oh my gosh, I relate to that so much. The shirt that I bought off Kai's website, she's also a fashion designer and has a whole clothing line, which I plan on buying like everything on your clothing line. But I got the shirt that I just posted. You can see it on my Instagram, Don't Dim to Fit In, because I totally relate to that. It's like, how people react to us, especially when we're like coming into our teenage years, even when we're like even younger than that, like what people say about us and how they're reacting to us at school, or if it's like adults, we start to try to feel like it's our job to control the way that other people are going to perceive us. So like maybe you're really pretty and you really have a big light within you and people notice and you show up as yourself, but then maybe it's not received so well because people can't handle that level of light. So you start to kind of your heart and kind of shape the way that you are to make sure that you're still safe in your environment. And then at some point you get older and you're like, you know what? No, like I want to show up as myself and it's not my job to make everybody else comfortable with it.
Yeah.
They can like me, not like me. They can think what they want. They can think I'm dressing a certain way to be perceived a certain way, but it does. None of that matters. Once you reach your 30s, I think you really start realizing like, I just want to be myself. And like,
I love it here. 30s, I love it here. I'm very excited to get older. A lot of women I know don't want to be older, but I find something just very distinct and beautiful about being wise and wearing it however you want to wear it, and um I think it's so cool. I think that don't dim to fit in. Like I used to have this dream all the time before I started my business, and the same dream that I would hear my grandmother say to me all the time was, "Speak your truth, baby." For weeks, I'm just like, "What the hell is my truth? I don't know what is you talking about. I need a sign. I need a little." And then it would be, some little old lady at a coffee shop or something. I'd just be standing next to her, and I'd look at her, and she'd say, "Your light's so bright. Don't you ever dim it." And I'd be like, "Okay, thank you." She's like, "Yes, just beautiful, And then I'd be like, "Okay, speak your truth. Don't dim, don't dim, And then it would be like I'd link up with a friend and she'd be like, "Girl, you don't never fit in, but you be standing out, And so it'd be little things that's just like, I'm gonna make this to a shirt, like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and I just feel like it's so strong for people everywhere because our uniqueness is what is going to bring about change for this very fucking planet that we live on. And if you keep trying to make people carbon copies of whatever you think is okay, we will not evolve as human beings. We won't I feel like people don't realize how deep it is for you to be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's bigger than appearances. It's on an energetic level. It's on, this world, this earth that we live on will always it's abundant. This whole universe is abundant in so many ways that we don't even know because we don't want to tune into that. But once we do, all those answers will be there everywhere, and it essentially is wired to heal and create itself. And so are we. And so I feel like if we're trying to subdue that sexual prowess in us as women, or that mega go-getter ambitious drive as a man or masculine energy that women even have, like if you subdue that or overcompensate in either of them, you're still being toxic, you're still being a detriment to everything, and there has to be levels to this. There has to be like a yoke, like a, what is it, a slinky,
Yeah.
it's very like
Mm-hmm.
it has to be that in order for you to do. And if you're constantly worried about what people think of you or how they perceive you and all this stuff, then you're never going to reach your own personal nirvana, which your mission is. You're never going to complete it because like I noticed with me, I dulled down and overshadowed the deepest, most almost scary in a way, like power of mind that makes shit happen because I was afraid to be big. I was afraid to be like, overshadow someone else. And the only reason why that was not only because of what they were telling me, but because I felt like it was a bad thing. If I'm big in energy and how I present myself doesn't mean you're small.
Right.
That's not what that means. That just means that I'm comfortable in being big in this. And if you're not, then you are. But you're not. And that's fine. But that doesn't mean that we can't coexist. We just have to have an exchange. Maybe you're even more observant than I am. So you peep something, all you have to do is tap me and I'll lean over, and you tell me and I say, mm-hmm. And then now here I'm going to put it into play. There's so many ways to coexist with other beings that I really hope that, maybe it's my Aquarius speaking, my little humanitarian heart, but I really hope that we could we won't ever master it, but learn to, accept it and embrace it and see it and work with it because, man, we can just do some great things. We're already living large, but I'm just saying we can be living large. We really could. We really
agree.
could.
I feel like nothing feels better than fully expressing who you are. That is really the ultimate healing, is just being able to be who you are. So I'm so glad that you're a mom. Like, knowing that you're a mom parenting kids, like, really gives me a lot of hope in the world. I think that is just amazing. You really are such a wealth of knowledge. Like, the insight you give, the examples you give, the way you say things, it just, like, it so resonates with me. And I know it's going to resonate with everybody who listens to this. I am so grateful that I met you, Kai. Like,
thank you. I feel the same way.
You've changed my life since I met you. You've changed my perspectives. You've brought me deeper on ideas that I had but couldn't put words to. I'm really grateful for you, and I really appreciate you coming on here. You just really had so many mic drops, so many insightful things to say. So I want everybody who listens to this to check out Shameless Avs. So that's Shameless. Actually, Keila Danielle Danielle.com. That one is your website.
My portfolio. Yeah.
Okay, so that's your portfolio. This is where, if you want to check out Kai's digital art, her writing, her graphic designing you can find her podcast on there, photography.
Yeah, everything I've done in a nutshell is there. All the avenues there. Yeah.
And then your Instagram is drop for us. What's your Instagram?
Yeah. And then my Instagram is Shameless Kai, so shameless, and then KY. And then my clothing line and store in a sense is Shameless Av. So shameless and an AVE. And so those are all of it. And my podcast, Shameless Kai Speaking, because I'll be speaking, child.
Yeah. Check out the podcast. When I listen to that when I'm driving, I'm like hysterically laughing and then having like an existential moment of like, whoa. So it'll bring you on an experience. Listening to Kai,
it's a journey for sure.
It's a journey, and it's entertaining, but it's an experience. So I highly recommend you guys listen to her podcast. It's really good. Yeah.
Yes, and look out for us too, because we're going to be doing more things. And anybody on the airwaves that wants to join our meditation, tell them about the meditation, girl. Because we could probably have some listeners in Hawaii.
Listeners in Hawaii. Most of the, probably, I don't know. I have people from all over the world. Like, it's like 1% here, 1%, but it's like Indonesia, Australia, Switzerland, like all these places. So if you're listening around the world, thank you so much. What an honor. But fun fact, so today is in the moon cycle. I'm trying to go back to our text. I think you actually texted me this, but we have a full moon coming up. And then right now, do you remember what it is in the moon cycle? It's somehow like the moon is crossing with Aquarius and like Jupiter is going through Taurus, and it's I don't know. It's a good
It's a
time for
whole lot of new exciting and nurturing and aesthetically pleasing, make it prim and proper and lively energy right now. Like all of the creative thoughts and energy you have and bringing it out and really presenting itself or whatever in such a beautiful way. And so no matter what it is that you're doing, yeah, this is the time. This is the time because we're what in the dawn of Aquarius. Well, we're in the dawn of Aquarius than during COVID. And I remember telling my husband too during that time, like, the karmic wheel is turning for a lot of people, and I don't think that they realize because I feel like the government does a lot of things because everybody's controlled by the divine, whether or not they want to believe it or not. Atheists, anyone out there, because there is a higher power, whatever you want to call it, though, is up to you. But there is something else that is in more control than you are, because if you were, then you would not need for anything, and you still need. So but that we're in these times now where you have to use your intellect and you have to use your innovation to get you ahead. And there's the ending of that animalistic, nasty, greedy, self-centered period is dying. And people, if you've noticed all over, are more receptive to what's real, not what's fake, And so I think it's a prime time to really go after everything that you want, but wholeheartedly. Don't try to dim it. Don't try to make it into something that somebody else would want to see. Make it into what you want to see. And then the people that you resonate with will come out of the woodworks. Like we met on Bumble, people.
Yeah.
We met on Bumble, and now we have all of these plans that we're going to roll out within how long we're connected to really leave out there in the ethers for people who need it later, whether they need it tomorrow or 2-3 years from now, it's going to be there. So, yeah.
Yes. So on the 24th, we are going to do a full moon get together. It'll be women, and we'll do a guided meditation. We have some little fun ritual stuff. All full moons are about releasing, letting go, cleansing.
Yeah.
So bringing in what you want to manifest for the coming month. So I plan on bringing like a little fire, and we can write some what we're releasing on some pieces of paper and burn those. And we're working on getting some crystal bowls, singing bowls. So if you want to be part of that, reach out to me or Kai, and we would love to have you be part of that. It's going to be really fun. So that's happening February 24th. It's a Saturday night. We're going to do it at the beach. We live in Hawaii, so it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be amazing.
It's going to be great. I'm excited. We have to do one on the moon too, because that's when we bring everything in. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kai. So yeah, that's the episode 11, my favorite episode ever recorded, by the way. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you next week.